Ladies, gentlemen, and raiders of all larks, with a brand new week, we have a fresh new set of trials to complete. Whether you're looking to just rank up and progress your track towards the longer term rewards of getting good leaderboard positions every week, or you just want to get your tier 1, 2, and 3 rewards for each trial, as they can contain things like high value guns or attachments, equipment, or even blueprints, all kinds of great stuff. So maybe you only care so far as hitting 4,000 points in each trial to get to that threshold. Whatever your actual goal is, with 5 new trials, we've got new things to maximize, so we'll go over some general basics for trials just as a refresher, and then we'll go over my recommendations for how to get the most out of your effectiveness for each trial this week as well. Just to get this out of the way, because I know you're going to ask, as a channel, our current highest trials ranking member is up at wildcard 1 rank, doing very, very well, but I personally am rookie 3 because my goals while playing just have been focused in other ways than trials until now. I've not actively sought out high trial scores, so you'll see rookie 3 on my screen a lot, but we came up with these strategies together, so they're essentially wildcard 1 strategies just being shown to you by a rookie 3 is I think the best way to describe it here. That said, as we begin, some general tips. Each trial might require some slightly different strategies, but generally for trials you want to prepare as if you will end up in a fight with multiple players. You want adrenaline shots for sure, as the only thing that I will ever say is a necessity, as it just makes getting around the map easier and faster, which is pretty much a requirement for most trial objectives, especially with the knowledge that other people will also want to do these objectives, and if it's a first come, first serve type of objective, then you want to be the first one there and get out before anyone else shows up. Like harvesting plants, for example. Once another player harvests plants, you can't harvest the plants. But otherwise, depending on what your resources are like, just kit up with a good set of gear that you think gives you a good chance of surviving and making it out at the end, because the big thing about trials is that your score only counts your highest score from a singular raid, rather than collectively over like multiple raids, and it also only counts your score if you successfully extract. So if you bring a super budget loadout, gather a bunch of score, and then die making it out because you weren't strong enough to make it through the hardships that came across you, the whole thing was basically pointless. So bring stuff that you are confident gives you a fighting chance if things do go wrong. As for more general strategies, I usually recommend going solo instead of doing these in groups for trials, and yes, you do share trial points gained while in a group outside of occasional bugs, so it's not like it's a pure negative, but the reason I say solos is better is mostly because players tend to be a lot friendlier in solo raids, and a lot of trials objectives can be done in a friendly way where you don't take away score from other players, and this gives you higher chances of the safe extract at the end, and if everyone chooses to work together, you can all get out with your points. Today I'll be showing you all of my footage from solo runs. The strategies will work pretty much exactly the same if you want to do them in groups, unless I specify that something happens to be better in a group in particular, and if so, I will explain how and why. Past that, work around the map conditions. Specifically, this means the big circle major map conditions that you can see timers for, not like minor events that show up as part of the standard map selection. These major map conditions, if you can do them for trials, as you can see by the symbol on the top right corner of the UI, all give you double points for trials rewards. And past that, it's also worth noting that Spaceport now has the hidden bunker major map condition, which is a 40-minute raid timer, and Blue Gate now has the locked gate major map condition that also has a 40-minute raid timer. That means that these both give double trials points and give you 25% more time to complete objectives from the start of the raid. So anything that can be done effectively on either of those two maps will be best done during those two events if you want to have the most time possible to build up a high score. Then the final one is a sort of under the radar tip that will only work until people catch on, but they haven't yet. If you care about climbing the leaderboard specifically, the grouping of players that you are placed in and ranked again on your trials leaderboard is decided by the timing that you get your first successful trial scores of the week. This means that the group that you're in, if you post a score on reset day, is a different group than if your first score posted was 2 days later. And the trick to this is that the people who really care about trials and really push them tend to get on it the second that reset day hits. They would get on it right now. This means the leaderboard grouping you have if you start doing trials immediately after the reset is likely going to be much sweatier and more try-hard than if you were to just wait and try not to post a trial score for the first couple of days, then do it a bit later on. This would put you into an easier grouping to get a high score. So at least until this idea catches on, if you want a high leaderboard position, it might be worth waiting a little bit before doing your trials, but some of them will likely just sort of happen passively while you're playing regardless, and sort of stop you from doing this strat. That said, let's get into the trials themselves and specific strats. This week we have some repeats from earlier weeks, but all in all, the strategies to maximize these are pretty straightforward, not necessarily super simple to execute, but straightforward for sure. Hitting them up in order, let's start with damage leapers. This can technically work on multiple maps as arc enemies do respawn, but the one that has the most leapers at any given time is the Dam Battlegrounds. An ideal strategy would be to bring a hullcracker and the ammo to use for it. It only takes a handful of hullcracker shots to kill a leaper specifically, so they are relatively easy fodder for that weapon, and generally a single full leaper kill will get you around 3,000 score, so you need to do like 1.5 to get to 3 stars if that's your only goal, and then you can get out. Or if you're going for high scores, you can do it 1 leaper, kill it completely, rotate around the map to the next leaper, so on and so forth until you've done the full loop, and then when you get back to the first one, it might have even respawned so you can keep going. The best way to do this is to use an interactive map that can show you leaper spawns specifically, and we'll have one linked down below the video for you guys to use for that purpose, but this is where they are on the damn battlegrounds in particular. Other than that, you could use a deadline mine instead of the hullcracker ammo, but it's just not worth it in exchange for a few hullcracker ammo in my opinion. Deadlines are way more valuable and harder to use for leapers. Next up, we've got damage queens or matriarchs, which is quite a daunting one at first glance, but it is a lot simpler than you might imagine. We have videos on the channel already showing really solid ways to take out the queen and the matriarch, pretty much just using a hullcracker if you want to go the full 9 yards, and you can do this pretty easily solo for the queen specifically, but only on damn battlegrounds, and that would do this in a relatively repeatable way, as even before you get the hullcracker crafting blueprint, you can still buy one of these per day, so you get multiple chances over the course of the week. As for the strategy, we again have this in a separate video if you want the full details, but on damn battlegrounds there's a little bunker you can lock yourself in within sightline of the queen, then you can just bombard her with hullcracker ammo from relative safety. Just make sure that you bring enough ammo if you're going for the full kill to avoid disappointment. And I would say 200 launcher ammo is very safe, 180 launcher ammo is relatively safe, 150 is potentially doable if you hit literally every shot, but there's just no reason to risk getting like 90% of the way through her and then running out of juice. That said, the much better way to do it is with deadline mines. You can buy 3 of these per day from Apollo. They do a ton of damage if you place them correctly, and they are super powerful against big arc. I recommend doing this with the queen specifically instead of the matriarch just because it's a bit easier and more consistent, but to put it simply, 7 or 8 deadline mines, if placed correctly, is enough to fully kill the queen, with only 2 deadline mines being required if all you care about is hitting 3 stars on the trial. That said, this is how it's done. For the loadout, if you want a full kill, again, I would bring 8 deadline mines just to be safe. 7 of them can do it, but it's a little bit finicky, so 8 secures the kill safely. You want a photoelectric cloak for the pseudo stealth, allowing you to actually walk up safely without aggroing her and then place the mines. A raider hatch key is ideal for a quick extract afterwards, and I recommend bringing a wolfpack grenade for the rocketeer nearby, just in case as well, and even a zipline to get through the raider hatch quicker as well after the fact. Outside of that, bring a weapon you're comfortable with in case it's needed, loot Mark II augment or even Mark III, so you can have as many deadlines in your safe pockets as possible so that they don't get lost if you die, because you can only get 3 a day. And then just sort of standard stuff really. It's worth noting if the only thing you care about is hitting the 3-star trial reward again and not high score chasing, literally all you need to do is get 2 deadline mines on the right part of the queen and it will get you past 4,000 score. And you can keep 2 deadline mines in your safe pockets in every raid, so you're not really risking the most important part of the kit if you're doing that. As for what to do in the round, make your way to the queen spawn, scout out the area, make sure it's safe before you actually go in. If there are other players, you can try to work with them against the queen, or you can fight them for the right to get all that queen damage yourself. But obviously, if you are working together, you'll be splitting the damage that each of you does, so that only really works if your goal is 3 stars, not if you want to maximize points for the leaderboards. Generally, you want a safe space to work from, which means that you would ideally want to do the harvester itself relatively earlier, or when the event is on Blue Gate, there is a lot more natural terrain that you can use even without doing the harvester. But past that, you generally want to wait out the round timer before you start actually hitting the queen to try and reduce the chances of other players being around as much as possible. 10 minutes left is usually the sort of safe zone for this specific strat. The photoelectric cloak is required to keep the queen from aggroing you, and as long as she isn't angry, you can place a deadline mine right on her underside here, even on flat ground, very easily. Once she is aggroed on a player, she tends to stand up a little bit higher, but it's still doable with angled terrain and stuff like that if you really want to. You can place 2 mines in a single go if you're feeling very brave, but that's generally not worth the risk as it's easy for that to go sideways really quick, as you can see here. So instead I recommend just doing 1 deadline mine on her, then back into cover, and that's the safe strat. After the mine explodes, the queen will be aggroed on you, and you just have to wait until she relaxes and starts doing her regular patrol. Then you can repeat this process again until she dies. Again, 8 deadline mines total to fully secure the kill if you don't do any other damage. If there are other players attacking her, you just want your 3 stars, you can try and make friends with them, and while they have aggro from using their hullcrackers against her or shooting her or whatever they're doing, you can just sort of sidle up and stick your deadline mines on the underside of her body while she's not looking at you. Again, 1 deadline mine in this location is worth 2,200 points towards the trial, so 2 deadline mines is 4,400 points, and you only need 4,000 points to hit 3-star rewards. If you were, however, to get the full kill solo with these fully completely with no one else doing damage, you'd end up with around 17,000 points is your high score, just for reference. But especially with it being a trial, all of my queen experiences since reset have been just massive groups of players all just agreeing to work together and get what damage they can for themselves out of it. So there is a large RNG component to if you end up with a queen all to yourself, or if you'd have to just sort of share or fight for it. So there is a large RNG component to if you end up with having a queen all to yourself. That said, you can only do this like once every 3 days if you're doing it solo, if it takes 8 mines to kill the queen, because you can only buy 3 of these mines per day. But this is one of those strategies where being in a group actually does help, because if you do it with a group of 3, you go in with that group of 3, each of you can bring in 3 mines, or I guess one of you would only bring in 2, but that means you can do it every day, because each one of you can individually purchase 3 deadline mines every day. Next up is harvest plants. This one is super duper simple, with the mention that fruit does not count as plants for the sake of this objective, so our best specific target is Great Mulane, and the best spot to get a bunch of this is on the Buried City. As usual, aim for a night raid or major map condition of some sort to double your point accumulation, but the Galleria area on this map specifically is just chock full of Great Mulane all throughout the building, and it is a low value loot zone otherwise, so the only other players you're likely to run into in this building at all are the people also looking to harvest plants. So especially if you're doing it during a night raid, where most of the people in the raid will be focused on getting valuable loot, you can just sneak in and bang out a really nice score on this very quickly and easily. I didn't even clear the full building in this run, just quick smash and grab only in the lobby itself, and I still got 10k score. Next up we have the Open Arc Probes event, and this one is another relatively simple one. The ideal map condition for this is the Prospecting Probes event, which just makes a ton more arc probes spawn. For efficiency's sake, it's worth mentioning that the proficient prior skill tree node is quite relevant for this, as faster breaching means faster probe breaking, so you can just move to the next probe quicker. Outside of that, if there's no Prospecting Probes event up but you still want to run this trial, a good secondary option is just Bluegate as a map in general, as there seems to be more arc probes on that map than most, just sort of by default, especially with how open the upper area is and how much time people tend to spend on this map doing other objectives like puzzles or just being underground where the probes aren't. You can then pair this with a major map condition for double trials points, ideally even the Locked Gate event for the 40-minute timer that it has if you're looking for a leaderboard record, so you have the extra raid time. That said, be ready to fight some minor arc while you're doing this, because sometimes when you're doing the full like 3-sided non-destroyed arc probes, they can have an alarm go off when you're breaching them and you'll end up with some friends. So keep that in mind when putting your loadout together for these runs. And it's worth noting, even if you don't get lucky enough to find the full like non-destroyed 3-sided probes, 3 destroyed probes with a major map condition is enough to hit 4,000 score. So if that's the only thing you care about, that's all you actually need to do. The Prospecting Probes event is much more for if you're trying to get proper high scores with this. Finally, then we have Damage Flying Arc Enemies, which hilariously is just like an expanded version of one that everyone hated last week, which was to do wasps specifically then, but now this is wasps, and all of the other flying arc options as well. That said, one strat if you want to just put a bit of resources into it is rocketeers. You can go around any map during a major map condition and just fling Wolfpack grenades at rocketeers for a massive amount of damage from each kill, and if the Wolfpack doesn't finish the job, just make sure you have something like an upgraded anvil or ferro to finish them off. Bluegate specifically has a high number of rocketeer spawns, and like the leaper objectives, you can just roam around the maps and pick them off one by one, then wait for the respawns if you want to maximize your high score. Or you can just extract as soon as possible as soon as you hit 3 stars if that's the only thing you're after. The secondary strategy, which is much more involved, is basically just what we did for wasps last week. This is a bit more dangerous or difficult, it has a higher potential maximum score in theory, and also it won't cost you a bunch of wolfpacks, so that's definitely also a consideration, and this is going to be snitch abuse. Either bring a bunch of snitch scanners into a raid with you if you have them already, if they're in your inventory, you have them saved up, and then you can just throw the scanners down one at a time to call in a couple of wasps to kill nice and simple. Make sure you do this on a major map condition for double points, ideally again either Hidden Bunker on Spaceport or Locked Gate on Bluegate for the 40-minute timers to really drag it out. But that requires you to have prepared, or to prepare, a bunch of these things to make it happen. You need to have the snitch scanners to be able to throw the snitch scanners, and so instead I recommend just camping a snitch's spawn. Snitches are one of the fastest respawning arc. Again, you can use the interactive map to find your own spots that will work for this on any map, but Bluegate, Locked Gate event, and Spaceport Hidden Bunker event are ideal for high scores if you can. You want to pick a snitch spawn by the edge of the map so you aren't likely to be interrupted, shoot the snitch once to get its attention, wait for it to call in reinforcements, and then ideally you will also kill the snitch before it gets away for that bit of extra damage. This way you get the snitch damage, which counts towards the trial, then it calls in reinforcements that you can kill, which is going to be 2 wasps and a hornet, and you can kill those, which are all flying arc, so you get a bunch of extra trials points from that. Then you can pick up the snitch scanner off of the snitch that you killed, use that to spawn in 2 more wasps and kill them as well. After a minute or so, the snitch will respawn, and you can just sort of repeat this as much as you want to, and then extract nice and easy once you're happy. You can also mix this in with some wolfpack grenades for rocketeers in between the snitch respawns if you're feeling brave, but especially solo, that is a bit of a risk, but that's the general idea for how to min-max this one. That just about does it for today, and everyone, a guide to getting your full trial rewards for this week, as well as how to push it and try to maximize your score even further for high leaderboard positioning. I hope this helps you achieve your goals, whatever they are, and I wish you the best of luck in your trial score focused raids, unless you're in my personal leaderboard grouping, in which case, don't follow these strategies, they're all stinky, and you should just take a break this week and let me be number 1. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.